as President Joe Biden continues to face criticism for the migrant surge at the border. And joining us now to share his thoughts is the former acting Secretary of Department of Homeland Security, Chad Wolf. Welcome to the National Desk. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me this morning.
So let's get right to it. President Biden, as we all know, held his first press briefing yesterday, and he was asked about the surge. Take a listen to what he had to say.
Truth of the matter is, nothing has changed. As many people came, 28% increase in children to the border in my administration, 31% in the last year in 2019 before the pandemic in the Trump administration. It happens every single solitary year.
Secretary Wolf, during your time at DHS, did you witness what he's talking about right here, the same kind of surge that we're currently seeing at the border?
Yeah, we saw a surge in 2019, which was unique for that time. But I will just say to the president's comments, when he says nothing has changed, I would disagree. I would say everything has changed. In February alone, CBP saw over 100,000 illegal apprehensions. That's the highest February in almost 20 years. It doesn't have anything to do with seasonal changes. It has to do directly with both the messaging and the policies of the Biden administration. We are likely to see March over 135, almost 140,000 illegal apprehensions, which will be, one of a historic high. So again, everything has changed during this crisis at the moment.
So you're saying that the migrant surge is directly connected to policies that are made by whatever administration is in office?
Well, I would say in 2019, the surge wasn't because of policies we made. It was because of loopholes in the law that we were able to change with the migrant protection protocols, with some of our ACAs, our asylum cooperative agreements, and then eventually Title 42 under COVID. And it's because the Biden administration withdrew all of these shortly after January 20th that we see the surge today.
And the president also revealed what age group of migrants they're currently seeing down at the southern border. Take a listen to this.
And those who are coming across the border who are unaccompanied children, we're moving rapidly to try to put in place what was dismantled, as I said. For example, of all the children who are coming across the border, over 70% are either 16 or 17 years old. We're not talking about people ripping babies from mother's arms or little 3-year-olds standing on the border. Less than, I think it's 1.5% fall in the category of the very young.
So he just said right there, nearly 3/4, 70% are teenagers. Secretary Wolf, when it comes to migrants 16 and 17 years old, what should be done? And how do you know how old they are? How are you able to verify that?
Well, it's a very difficult proposition for Border Patrol as they come across that border. But I think the president's comments yesterday just signify the messaging conundrum that the Biden administration is in. Several weeks ago, they were talking about how most of these minors coming across the border were 7 and 8 years old. And now they're saying they're 15 to 17. So which is it? Because now they're starting to justify why maybe they can turn some of those around. So what we know, the facts are about 75% of those minors coming across the border are between the ages of 15 and 17, and the vast majority of those are male. And so what we did under the Trump administration was use our Title 42 authorities during COVID to turn all of those individuals around, put them back on planes, reunite them with their families in their home countries. The Biden administration has specifically not done that. They've chosen not to exercise that, and they've advertised that. And that is directly the result of the surge that you're seeing now. It's why CBP has over 5,000 minors in custody. It's why HHS systems and facilities are really bursting at the seams, because we are advertising that if you make it to the border, you will get into the U.S. and you will stay here in the U.S., and it's the wrong approach.
So should we be sending some of these teens, like you mentioned, should we be sending them back to Mexico? Because right now, lawmakers in Texas on both sides, that's what they're saying. They're saying right now they would like to deport some of the older teens back to Mexico.
Well, absolutely. And I think, one thing that the Biden administration is not talking about today is that if you're a teen or you're a minor from Mexico, they are doing just that. They are turning them around back to Mexico today. There are thousands and thousands of minors every single day that are getting turned around to Mexico. What the current administration has decided to do is to say, if you're from the Northern Triangle, we're not going to do that. If you're from the Northern Triangle, we're going to allow you to stay here in the U.S., and that becomes a magnet pull factor for the surge that we're seeing today. And that's something that they need to address right away.
Yeah, and Secretary Wolf, President Biden, as you know, and his administration, they have faced criticism for their lack of transparency about the conditions at the border. And it seems that Democrats in Congress having a similar issue. Take a listen to what Texas Representative Cuellar had to say about this.
It's hard to get information from our own government. And I sit on the Homeland Appropriations. I get more information from across the river than I get from my own government, which is just amazing.
Why do you think that is? Why isn't the Biden administration forthcoming about what's taking place there at the southern border?
Yeah, absolutely. They're not allowing press and cameras into Border Patrol stations where some of this overcrowding is really at its height. Some of the pictures, most of the pictures that you're seeing from DHS or from the Biden administration are really from HHS facilities, which are a little bit larger and are not as cramped. And I think they're very concerned about the public images that the public would see about those Border Patrol facilities. They are well over capacity. And I think what we heard from the President Biden yesterday was basically a commitment to allow press in there once the issue was fixed, which is not appropriate. You need to let press in there to understand what is going on today, because the American people need to understand that there is a crisis, that they need to support the men and women of Border Patrol and DHS. And the only way to do that is to show them pictures, and not letting press in there for weeks at a time, or for 2 or 3 more weeks until the situation is under control, as the president said, is not appropriate. You need to allow press into DHS facilities just as you allowed them into HHS facilities.
So you said if the public were to see those DHS facilities, they'd be surprised by what they would see. What would we see?
Well, what you would see is a Border Patrol station is more like a jail than anything else, because it's designed to hold and process individuals for short periods of time before they then process them and move them on to other parts of the criminal justice system. So whether you move them to a local jail or you move them to another federal facility, that's what those are designed for. Right now, you have minors in those facilities for up to 10 days in some cases. They're never supposed to be there for more than 3, at the max 4 days. And so they are jail-like settings, as you can imagine, concrete floors, concrete benches, and the like. And I think those are the images that the Biden administration is concerned about, because you not only have, a couple hundred in there, in some cases you have thousands in some of the larger Border Patrol facilities.
All right, former Secretary Chad Wolf, thanks so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
Great, thank you.